All right, welcome back to the program. Like I told you, we'll look at the issue of transparency and accountability, especially in Abia State government. And some people were saying, especially the opposition, they said there was this claim that the Commissioner for Finance was receiving about 10 million naira monthly. And the man has come out to say it's not true. That's not the position of it. But let's take a listen and hear what the Commissioner of Finance talked about as regards to that claim. Listen.
Finally, in that they pay the Commissioner for Finance 10 million.
Yeah, the figures are here.
Don't worry, 10 million every month. And I'm just asking, so the person just woke up yesterday. This same amount or whatever they claim, because he said that in law they say whoever alleges, you need to come and prove.
Exactly.
I am not here to come and prove whatever thing they're saying, but what I just want to say is what is. Same figures were being collected, if he claims that there are figures like that, over 24 years. You never heard of it. Nobody talked about it. You gave the Commissioner of Finance about 1.something million to go for FAC and whatever. And they were given the same amount 24 years ago. And now there is even the cost for flights is higher than then. Cost for hotel is higher than then. You will need to get charter of a vehicle. You need charter vehicles when you get to Abuja that will move you around to and fro and whatever thing you are going to do. And this same government is paying same amount without increasing it. And somebody is just busy talking. So what happened to those ones they collected? There is what we call time value of money. The 1.5 million or whatever they call it that was being paid then, that is still being paid now, cannot be the same. So what it means is like those guys were just taking money for doing nothing. If these particular people are now using the same amount to do what they were supposed to be doing then, they should get at least a pat on the back for doing good. And some of them, you see most of those things they rolled out there, there are what we call overheads that you use to run the government. Buy fuel, do this, entertain visitors, do whatever, pay for security and whatever. Am I the one that is supposed to use my money serving the government to do all those things? That is not correct. So those things they wrote there, just people by the fact that they still have, you use it to buy diesel, you use it to do your travels, you use it to entertain visitors, you use it for your security and all those things. So does it go to the pocket of the Commissioner for Finance? It doesn't. You see people just carry figures and throw in without giving the explanation of what it is. You had the one up there talked about FAC, and that's the one I just explained. And I'm asking, if this man is using some amount that has been there for over years, doing the same thing, because we have time value of money, 1.5 million in the past 4 or 5 years, even in 2022, is not the same today.
That was the Commissioner for Finance actually reacting to the allegation that he was collecting about 10 million naira, for his personal allowance and all that. But we will be looking at all this, and we'll try to dissect and see who is actually making the allegation and what for. And it is on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. This is where we lay it bare here on the Flow of Godson State. Now, joining me virtually to talk about this issue is a public affairs analyst, Eric Ikwagu. He joins me virtually this morning. Good morning, Eric. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning, Ginika. Thank you for having me.
Okay, it's been long. We spoke on this platform. It's been long. I mean, it's about 1 year now, and I would like to get your reaction. Generally, let me have your overview reaction and assessment of Governor Oti's administration. It's about 1 year and about 2 months or thereabout since he assumed office. Let's look at transparency and accountability of this particular government before we now go into the nitty-gritty of today's discussion, Eric.
Well, when it comes to transparency, I would have loved to give them an overview rating of 1%. Okay? Now, specifically when it comes to transparency, you will agree with me that Abians are operating in the dark when it comes to what is happening in the government. Even that the third man, who is the speaker, the third man in the ranking, who is the Speaker of the Honorable House, does not seem to even know how much that was paid or didn't get to the innocent motors when it comes to vehicles of members of the House. So it is surprising that at one point the spokesman of the governor came out to say that the cost of doing Port Harcourt Road was 30 billion. Another top-ranking aide of the governor said it was 32 billion. At the end of the day, they agreed that it was 32 billion was given to them as jara, as if they are selling crayfish. So there's been a lot of wobbling here and there. We do not know the cost of any road. Nothing happens. The governor goes to Rivers State to commission a known cost of a road that the cost was made available to the people of Rivers State, but is in his own state. Nobody seems to know. If I ask you now how much is being expended to do the roundabouts, you will not be able to tell me how much is being spent on doing the expansion of Osa Road. You cannot be able to tell me. But you're a journalist, you're an investigative work, at that matter. So it's troubling, and I score them a 0 when it comes to transparency. Now let me tell you this. I have written to the Ministry of Works through Freedom of Information Act. Until now, nobody has responded to me. I needed to know facts because I like to rely on facts. So the spokesman of the governor at one time asked people to go to the Ministry of Works to find out information about roads, which is a strange one anyway. And I've written, and today I've not gotten any response. So it is troubling that there's been this opacity that has been brought to the fore under this government that said it was going to be transparent, it was going to reduce the cost of governance. So when it comes to transparency, if not for the sectors which Dr. Okezi Bazu keyed into, there's a World Bank ways of checking government, for a particular fee. If you do well, they will pay you some fee for doing well. So after every 3 months, they are asked to publish the financials of the state and their budget performance. If not for that window, which Abians could see what is happening, today would have been in total darkness. But thank God there was safeguards, and if this government even has a way of exiting from that, they would have done that, because the figures has been very embarrassing. The kind of expenditure we see there has been very embarrassing. So that explains why this government decides to keep Abians in the dark. There's nobody who knows anything happening in the government. But thank God for the safeguards. We can now know that under 9 months, this government was spending 59 million naira every day in servicing the governor's office. We are now aware that the governor under 9 months was using 9 million naira every day for his security vote. We can now still know that the governor feeds himself with 2.8 million in his government house on daily basis. So it is shocking. While every other sector is stagnated, civil servants are not being paid. Those who receive their salary are still receiving salary, being paid with the 2019 salary structure. It is only the major actors of this government that understands time value of money. It is only the major actors, the serious commissioners, who understand that their welfare needs to be improved because inflation is affecting everything. But the civil servants are stagnated. Poor people who do the cleaning for us are being owed 4 months. Town planning owed 8 months. So these things are what the government has been struggling. But thank God for people who give us information. Thank God for the internet. Thank God for information are available. You cannot totally blind everybody. Information can still come out. So with the information we are receiving, we are now concluding that there is a serious reason why this government decided to blind every Abian. That is why they refuse to open up the government. They promised us that they're going to change the governance template and make everything transparent for Abians to see. In fact, one of the speeches of one of the excerpts of the governor during his inaugural speech was that Abians need not to be told these days what the governor is doing, what the government is doing for them, that they will see it themselves. So, what are we hearing? What are we seeing? If you don't attach cost to any infrastructural, any infrastructure, it will be difficult to appreciate it. It is when you know the cost of these roads that you can say, okay, the government is doing well. Remember, when they push, capital expenditure to 84%, most of us who understood budgeting, we screamed and said, what happens to recurrent? where the personnel cost and other overhead costs will be covered. What happens to them? The majority of Abians, unfortunately, are ignorant of what is happening. Today, we are seeing it. When we shouted that how can a government rely on borrowing to fund a budget and then spend 84% on infrastructure, most people didn't understand it. Now, we are beginning to understand it better. That is why when every state is paying wage bill, this wage award, when every state in this country is paying wage award, other state has refused to pay a kobo, and they have no logical explanation to it. This government receives an average of 14 billion every month. So what doing that they cannot be able to pay extra 20,000, okay, to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal? Inflation is hitting hard. The whatever thing that is paid in consideration to what they put in was done over 20 years ago. Now there is inflation, hyperinflation in the system, and you're comfortable to push these people under rigorous verification without deeming it fit to see put them under better welfare structure. Had it been this government has come to say, okay, with what is happening today, cost of fuel has gone up, food inflation is so high, the family disposable income has been wiped off. The governor said 8-9 years ago that 50,000 is even small. 50,000 is even small as minimum wage. Today, this same governor is finding it difficult to even agree with the federal government at 62,000 naira for minimum wage. So it's troubling when you see a government who campaigned on something, then to practicalize, to put whatever thing they campaigned into work becomes difficult. So in terms of transparency, I'm scoring them a total zero. Okay. I will expect a government to have a change, this government to have a change of heart, tell Abians the cost of contract, the procedure, because that is where the whole thing lies on, the procedure. How many times have you, my brother, seen this government put up an advert for tender of their contracts? But read through pages of newspapers, you will see Rivers State, Delta State, Ebonyi State call for tenders, contractors bid, do open bidding. We've not seen any road being bidded. In fact, the Port Harcourt road we are talking about today was even handed over to Julius Berger before the governor took out of office. And now we are hearing that a road that is less than 6 kilometers is being done for 32 billion. If you do the mathematics, about 6 billion a kilometer. No matter the inflation in this country, there is no place in this country that they are doing a kilometer of road for 6 billion. It is only in Abia State. It is that lack of transparency. It's that lack of transparency. And they talk about treasury single account. And we say, what will be the function of a signature bank? Today we are not hearing anything. Nobody knows what is happening. Okay, so what is the relationship of signature bank that was almost a monitored bank that was struggling to take off? Today it has spring up everywhere, doing very well. So we are asking, if there is no transparency, we wouldn't be asking all these rhetorical questions. We would have been sure to say that TSA is being handled by this bank, this one is being handled by this one, but because of the so much opacity in the activities and affairs of government, others are in the dark. Now, what you do not tell the people what is happening, you open up the gate of people trying to guess, people trying to, propound what could best suit their narrative. But for me, I'm saying that with the windows that are made available by World Bank sectors, we can have a peep into what is happening in the government. And we are concluding that because of the massive recklessness, financial recklessness that is happening in the budget performance every quarterly, that explains why this government has refused to open up their books, to open up their accounts for agents to have a field day in reading. Open up your book, everybody. We are learned enough to know what is happening. We can do the deduction ourselves as, okay, this is the expenditure, this is the receipts, this is what do you even know how much you have received? Do you even hear about IGR figures? During the last administration, they want us to believe it's evil. We hear about IGR figures every month. The government will tell you they are performing better or they are not doing well under IGR. Today, nobody has about anything. Everybody is overtaxed. The men are being forced to pay through their nose. Nobody's hearing about performance of IGR apart from roads dependent of fact and borrowing borrowing to fund his budget. Nobody knows what is happening. So if you do not know what is happening, you expose the government to a lot of either real or whatever analysis.
Okay, so let's look at, you mentioned the issue of security vote. Let us interrogate that. Going by what I have before me, 2.8 billion naira in security vote in the first quarter of 2023 for Governor Alex Uti. That is, just like he said, it's about 9.9 million daily. I recall when we had a media chat with the governor, and we were kind of, what are you doing with the security vote and all that? He said there's absolute security when you look around Abia State. I don't know what your reaction would be on that, Eric.
It is even a lie to say there's no absolute security anywhere, even in America, even in the developed world, the best countries in this world. There's nothing like absolute security. There could be relative improvement. And can we say in Abia today that we have relative security as compared to what happened before? Remember at a time, that was during 2020, 21, that this unknown government thing started. Abia State seems to be insulated from all those killings and whatever thing that was happening. There was a security template that was working. And I say, since government is a continuum, the last government, the didn't take as much security vote to be able to achieve those things. And this is a governor that said he wasn't going to take a kobo as security vote, that he was needless. Now took over 45% of the entire budget to service his office, and then as security vote. And remember, he told us that he has acquired some tracking devices. And today, what has happened? It is over 1 month that maybe the souls of those soldiers, very hardworking men, rest in peace. I come from a family of, you should know that, of military men and security operating. So it pains me when we lose a soul, because it could have been any person. It could have been my brother, it could have been my nephew, it could have been my cousin. Now we've lost them. It's over 1 month today. What happened to the tracking machine you're using 9.something million every day to secure? What happened to it? So there's no absolute security anywhere. And I don't want to play politics with security. It is a troubling trend that the government needs to go back and change and look into the books of what worked for Dr. Kezi Bazo, taking less than 300,000 to achieving so much. Rather than taking 2.8 billion, and then we have been exposed this way. So I think since government is a continuum, you inherit assets and liability. Dr. Kezi Bazo left a relatively peaceful Abia. He handed over a relatively peaceful Abia that was insulated from killing and killing and killing. Today, they will rob your phone. My small nephew the other time was pushed down along Abba Road. They collected his iPhone 12 around 7 o'clock in the evening. And so it's a challenging thing. It's not about the amount of money you collect, but the deployment of strategic security operatives to get these things uprooted. Now let me make this point. Remember that this government came out and said, when the second issue of killing of our security men happened somewhere in Abba, he came up and stopped and said they were going to stop the operational time of Keke. I thought that was supposed to be a security, that the decision was influenced by security directives by the operatives. Yeah. But what did we see? When the time got 1st of July came in, we were told by a government spokesman that the government considered the ply and plea of Abians and said, okay, they're going to extend it. It then means the government didn't even have any strategy. It was just to throw in anything to see if it's going to stick. Because if it's a security policy, it was going to be definite.
Well, Eric,
it was going to be decisive.
Do you think, is that a fair comment on the government? I mean, the number one priority of every government is the protection of lives and property. I mean, if there's no way maybe the commissioner of police or the military or whoever can come out and say we are placing a ban on keke operations and all that without the express approval of the state government. So, I mean, it must have dialogue with the state. I mean, the security agents.
We didn't know. I come from a military background. I understand this thing. Once there is a security red alert, whatever decision or policy that is coming out is always decisive. If they say that there are criminals in this particular place, and the government gives order for everybody to evacuate that particular place, they are coming in by 12 noon. My brother, they wouldn't say because there are this and that. This is not tax issue. This is not levy issue. That if the information, I still say it and I repeat it, if the policy to stop Keke operation after 7 was a decisive security policy, nothing will stop it from taking effect from 1st of July. Because it's not going to be permanent. It's a temporary measure to get things sorted out. Then the normalcy will come back. So if it is, no, I'm saying this. Okay. If it is a definite security advice, there will be no shift about it. It is something they are going to take in and take out those people, and then go back to normalcy once they have handled the security situation. So that you're going to ban Keke from 7. It's one of the many aspects of handling security. Yes, I for one was all for reducing the Keke time, because if the union themselves are not able to handle the internal issues, because one, security is everybody's business. So if I'm a Keke man, I'm riding, I'm a normal Keke man, I'm doing all what I'm supposed to do, and there's a Keke that has done something with him, because my cousin said there were some other Keke that were coming behind, okay, and they stopped, looked, and continued while they were trying to push the guy down. If that's those 3 Keke that my cousin told me, we are vigilant enough, they would have stopped to get the number, the registration, and hand over to the nearest police to track them down. If they start doing those things, I don't think they will rely on Keke to continue doing it. So I was all for it. The problem was the indecision of moving from here to there and saying it's no longer July, they're going to move it to August. It then means it's not a decisive security policy. It's just maybe trying to let them believe they're doing something towards that security challenge.
Eric, are you saying that a government shouldn't be compassionate? I mean, people are suffering. The economic realities is biting so hard on the people, and you expect the government that come out to say, okay, we are going to place ban on Keke, and you know that so many people still work beyond 7 p.m. By the time they close from work, how do they get home? And we are talking about improving nightlife, and the people are complaining. Are you saying that the government shouldn't have listened to the people who?
Why will a government come out to sound weak before criminals?
That was a relaxation.
The security situation. That's what I say. It sounded like they just had to make an announcement, to make the people believe something is happening. If it is a definite security advice, remember, it's not going to be forever. For instance, your studio now, if our security operatives, if they have intelligence that there are armed robbers that is going to attack a bank within so and so locality, they will stop operation. No matter what the amount you're going to lose that period, they will shut down operations, because lives matter much more than all these things you're talking about. So when they finish up the operation, they mop up operation, they open up business for normal. So what I'm saying is, if it is a decisive security advice, there won't be any flip-flop about it. It will have been definite, and maybe within 1 month or 2 months, you have to come with a timeline and say, okay, the government is placing a ban from so and so time, and you don't do security measures under emotions. There's no emotion about security, because if you don't checkmate them, they are going to kill, they are going to maim, they are going to destroy properties. So if it is something that is coming from a decisive security point of view, I don't believe they should shift it to. It would have been definite and say, okay, after 1 month we watch. Then we even get the Keke operators themselves to start getting involved. If it is watching their business and these criminal elements have infiltrated them, they should assist the security operatives to make this thing shorter and then get back to normalcy. But if they relax and say it doesn't concern me, you're the Keke operator and somebody is using a Keke to rob and you are within that vicinity, you can't copy the number and sent to police. You can't copy the number. Then you are lacking in your duty in your civic duty as an Abia, as a Nigerian. Okay. It is your duty to report such. So what I'm saying is, if it is a decisive, don't get me wrong here.
Okay.
If it is a decisive action, like I gave an instance and say, maybe they got intelligence that they are going to operate around your factory road axis. The security operatives in reaction will shut down, just like what happened in Ladipo. They shut down everything happening, not until they finish the operation, mop up the area, and open up that place for business. They wouldn't say, let's allow them, because people are going to lose money. Come on. Okay. You need to, do mop up operation immediately, then put back the system in normalcy, and the normalcy will continue. So what I'm saying is, the government seemed like, they needed to just show something for people to believe they're doing something, and then I say you're stopping the cooperation. What about the people that are out of jobs? What about the young people you've sacked as civil servants? There's a function of security when young people are out of jobs. When you sack them from the one they have, when shops are closing up, when the activities is no longer moving up the way it's supposed to be, when these guys are not getting money, when they're not being paid, the next thing is for them to take to crime and criminality. So while you're trying to combat crime, remember that economy is a function too. A young man who is engaged and who gets paid at the end of the day will not be probably disposed to crime, except extreme cases where I will support the government to read them out. I am supporting the government 100% to tackle on head on the security challenge, because we do not know who the next victim will be. So it's not about politics, but it's about getting these guys rooted out. I give it to the governor for responding, going to the families to encourage them that the government is doing something to getting those guys apprehended. A very beautiful one. But a government that is security conscious has to be proactive too. It's not always reactionary. Okay, it has to be proactive in getting these things. If maybe one or two people have been arrested, it will be a great discouragement from others to want to perpetrate such crime. But it's been one month counting, and you've taken billions and billions of security votes, and you told us you have super trackers. So what is happening to those super trackers? Remember the time we had the IG intelligence squad that was headed by Abakari? The successes they recorded through those tracking. So if you're going to be taking such humongous amount of security votes, we expected successes, being recounted, so that once you apprehend one criminal today, apprehend the next tomorrow, they will run away from Abia. We don't want them around our state. Okay, we want the peaceful Abia to come back to us. Lives do matter.
Okay, so at the inception of this government, I remember that there are some areas that are quite you can't even go to. Take for instance Umunnochi, and when you say the previous government did well and handed over a peaceful Abia state to the present government, so many people may want to disagree with you, going by what was happening at Umunnochi, Lompanta axis, and also at Ohafi. I'm sure you are very much aware with the issue of unknown gunmen clash with the military from time to time. That was in the previous administration. But presently, we are not hearing those things. Are you saying that the security vote is not really working?
Let me still reiterate on my point so that you do not misunderstand me.
Okay.
I use the word relative. Relative. Dr. Kezipa has handed a relative, peaceful, and a better secured Abia. Now, at a point, what was happening within the Umunnochi axis was a trans-border. Umunnochi is bordered by 4 or 5 states.
Yeah.
Now, it was a trans-border thing coming in from different zones. Okiwe area, again, against the Uturu axis. So, it was a difficult terrain to control. The military, let us not lose track of it, the military under the 82 Division Enugu came in and did a mop-up operation. There is no single governor of the southeast that will take that credit. Yes, they offered the support. And so it was during the time this government was coming in that operation took place. It was a southeast operation. And there was so much success recorded by the military. I must give it to them. I'm so much proud of my military men. These guys are wonderful. They did a mop-up operation within the southeast region. And everyone was calm. So what the government is enjoying, yes, is a little effort of theirs, but mega effort from the military operation. And after that military operation, there was calm. There was relative calm. Let me not use absolute. There was relative calm around that ISIS. So the government inherited this mop-up operation that wasn't a one-off thing. It started by the governors of the Southeast complaining. It started by the chief of army staff deploying his men. There was an operation that was national. You know, you're a journalist. That was around the Southeast. Some people wanted to agitate about it. And why is it about the Southeast? But most of us supported that action because we knew what would pass through there. I know a number of my people that were kidnapped. So it was a welcome development from the military. Then the government, normally the state governors within the the 5 eastern states supported. They gave logistic support, but the main action, the major action, was from the military under 82 Division Enugu. That's a fact. So when we are combating such level of insurgency or kidnapping or whatever, it has to come from a higher level. But I'm talking about those light crimes happening within, killing of military men, pulling of police stations. There seems to be isolated those days. We hear every day what happened in Enugu those days, Anambra, Imo State, Ebonyi.
Abia had his fair share, Eric.
Yes, but it was relative. It was relatively the most peaceful. Remember, there was a report that came out that Abia had the least when it came to the number of persons that lost their life in those troubled eras of 2020-21. Abia had the least number of people who were killed under such terror reign. So what I'm saying is there was a template that worked. You might not pick it hook, line, and sinker, but you can just look into the books and say, okay, what did this man do? I was on radio station, a sister radio station the other day. Somebody who was defending the government said that the former government were paying touts money. And I said, it seems you know so much about these things. So are you not telling me it is those touts that are causing this thing? And remember, if you remove a man who has held a particular place for long without an alternative, that person takes to crime. And I say that brings me back to trade and commerce. What has this government done under trade and commerce to make sure that those people you're disengaging from touting job gets a job immediately from the industries? At least we have a shoe factory that has been left for since a year now to rust away. Machines are not being used. There is a garment factory too. Nobody is using it. There are hospitals. You leave those things to die, and you're telling me that you can combat security challenges without getting people employed. You came out and said that employment is not your priority, and I wonder what is not your priority. Security is number one. In fact, the core job of government is to protect life and property, and it's a function. Creating jobs is a function of security, because a man who is well paid, a man who is gainfully employed, wouldn't find a way. So if there are 100 youths roaming the streets and you employ 100 of them, it is only one or two
does
the government enough to still go back.
Now, does the government create jobs? I mean, do they have business creating jobs, or do they create an enabling environment for private sectors to come in and create those jobs?
It's a two-way thing. There are long-term and short-term effects. Now, government is the highest employer of labor because of the country we are running. We're a third world country, and the government services, the government employment is not basically, it's not 100%. Sometimes a social thing to move up people from the unemployment market. It takes time for you to now start creating the enabling environment to move up people. Now, a government that inherited a wage bill of 2.8 billion sacked some people and now dropped to 2 billion. You have excesses you are using to overvalue contracts. And I say, what is the rationale behind it? If you say there are 15,000 low-income earners with less than 2 billion, I can be taking care of that problem. Why push them into the unemployment market? Why I am looking for non-existent? There is no company today that will come into Abia today and start operation and mob up all those 15,000. So how do you do it? It's a give and take. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, till you get an equilibrium. So, and the government is telling me that you sack them and you're creating an enabling environment. The governor has said that once his name is mentioned as governor, what's it called? Entrepreneurs will flood Abia State, and we are still watching. You have gone to
Are you saying
Hungary.
are you saying they are not coming into
Where are
the
they
people?
now? Where are they? Where is the crime rate very high? Give people jobs. Jobs should be priority. Security is priority. The core job of the government is to protect life and property. And you've started over 15,000 civil servants. And you're telling me that it doesn't have an effect, a ripple effect on the security situation? No. Now, to create endowment environment is wonderful. In fact, the private sector will help drive a better economy. Wonderful, nobody's arguing that. But on the immediate, where in Nigeria, apart from Lagos and Abuja, apart from rivers that has the oil, that oil companies and major businesses have existed, even now they have been existing in Nigeria. Companies are living in Nigeria. And now the government is sacking the ones under their employ to say they are creating conducive environment. Does that make logical sense? Does that make any sense?
Now, I think the government has actually come out to say that those people were not properly employed, and as such, they cannot take care of them. I think they've said that.
That is using a wicked face. That is using. Okay, let me tell you this. That a commissioner for finance the other day on a sister radio station said that the first verification they did before under Okezi Azo, that it threw up a lot of people who had fake certificates, but because the majority of them came from a particular segment of the state, that the people who were affected came from a particular side of the state. Is that not being sentimental, being nepotistic about these things? Now, what I'm saying, these guys are Abians. You understand the situation. You understand the cost of living. You understand that no business was employing or create will terminate, or no business was will come up during this period that what's it called? Loan. You pay back loan at almost 22%. Which business will survive under such a loan repayment plan? So it will be difficult for businesses to come in at that point. So on the Ethereum, just like Ebonyi did, just like they did in Kanu, just like they did in, you regularize those people. Are they not Abians? Now, if you say they didn't follow through process, you ask the Civil Service Commission, then you find out what the problems are. You regularize them. Those that are very, that had no certificate. I'm not one who, I suffer to go to school, so I wouldn't be one who will be preaching and engaging somebody who didn't have a certificate.
So what should the government be doing in this regard?
Situations,
yes.
Those ones with terrible situation, you edge them out. The ones you can formalize, you formalize.
And you think it's not the same thing that the government has done?
Security vote.
Eric?
And take a little from the billions you take in servicing your office to maintain these people. So in such a time, you will create that environment that will enable businesses to come out and start engaging.
Okay, so Eric, we are really out of time, but if you're actually saying that government should ease out those people that do not have, credible qualification to be employed, don't you think it's the same thing that the government is doing that you are still criticizing them of?
No, I am not. I can't criticize for the verification. No, I am saying that the way they are verifying, can they use that way to talk about their welfare? Come on, it's getting hard on every person. I have a number of my people who are civil servants or public servants. This thing is sitting hard on them.
Okay.
And you pay somebody in 2024 with a level of inflection. You pay them with pre-2019 salary structure. And how did that person survive? Remember, as an opposition leader, this governor challenged the state and said he was going to abolish the call and on-call. Today, is he paying? The government of Dr. Okezi also had challenges with the parastatals. What has changed with the parastatals today? But the core civil servants, and I'll still maintain it because I've not abolished it. Why is that protesting? Why are they start protesting? So he has not done anything in that front. There's still a challenge of parastatals. They earn money. So you must have to sit down and understand governance. That's why I say experience. This man is learning on the job. He came into that place with something in his mind. Now, to now use that private sector experience to engage the public sector, it's giving him a lot of trouble. That's why you see this government wobbling in all fronts.
Okay.
These guys earn money.
All right.
So you give subvention. So these are things you need to balance. Then the core civil servants who gain directly or who get paid directly from the government. The former government did it. They paid.
Okay. I think
So the challenges still continues, even with this government that said they're going to abolish the call and on-call.
Okay, Eric, I think we should just leave it at that. Let me sincerely thank you, a public affairs analyst and also a member of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP.
Thank you for adding that one.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you. All right, thank you. All right.